At this time, I will introduce our third candidate, Dr. Butch Ware, to the podium for his remarks. Please make your way to the podium. As shared earlier, you have 8 minutes total for your remarks. First, please include a response to this question presented by Mr. Tikoy Porter, President of the National Action Network Sacramento Chapter. Over the past decade, California has seen extreme heat waves and natural disasters. As governor, how do you plan to further prepare the state of California for natural disasters? How do you plan to work with the federal government to ensure California gets the funding needed to recover and rebuild? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. As the only non-corporate funded candidate here representing the Green Party and not representing Team Blue or Team Red, this question is right up my alley, because the Green Party was founded on environmental conservation principles 4 decades ago at Macalester College and has run on environmental sanity and sustainability ever since. Unfortunately, here in the state of California, especially under alternating blue and red governors, we have not had policies of environmental sustainability. Principle number 1 of the environmental justice movement worldwide is polluters pay. The corporations that poison our water, the corporations that poison our air are supposed to pay the costs, so that when PG&E, for example, is responsible for 400 plus wildfires and the bill for the damages of those fires registers in the billions of dollars, they're not supposed to have that written off by Gavin Newsom and his administration, and those costs go back onto the taxpayers. So the first thing that we need to do is to hold corporations accountable. And unfortunately, neither Team Blue nor Team Red is willing to do that for a very simple reason. Who funds you, runs you. These two parties, Team Blue and Team Red, have brought this country and this state to its knees. And they have done so because they are in the pockets of wealthy billionaires and corporations and are incapable of representing ordinary working people. Well, the Green Party only accepts contributions from ordinary people, no corporate donations. And we are not invested in a fake culture war between a so-called left and a so-called right that keeps people divided on bogus culture war issues, while our civil rights and civil liberties are lifted away from us and money is lifted out of our pockets. Our tax is going to incinerate children in tents in Palestine. Our tax is going to subsidize wealthy corporations so that Tesla pays 0.75% effective tax rate, while we, as ordinary working people, subsidize the wealthiest in our society. They want you to think that this is about left versus right, but it ain't about left versus right. It's about top versus bottom. And we need a candidate that is here to represent the working class and not the ruling class. But I'm going to tell you something. We see through the nonsense. Because the biggest lie they tell is that this is a country that's divided between blue states and red states, blue counties and red counties. 38%, according to Pew Research 2019, 38% of American voters identify themselves as independents. More than 31%, the 31% that identify as Democrats or the 26% that identify as Republicans. And Californians are above all free thinkers. Do not fall for the blue Kool-Aid versus the red Kool-Aid. Because they both work for the same corporations. They both work for AIPAC and they both work for weapons manufacturers. And you guys know that you need an independent voice in politics. Because a Gallup poll in 2023 said that 63% of American voters say that these two parties do such a, quote, poor job. That's the wording of the poll. That we need an independent third party that isn't funded by corporations. That's a supermajority of American voters. And when you poll independents, it's 70% of independents that say we need such a party. Well, here we are. And they had to let me on this stage, even though they don't want to, because I was the vice presidential candidate in 2024, and they didn't have nobody else up here. They got 1 million votes for the White House. So they couldn't freeze the Green Party out of this one. We need an outsider in our politics, and we need people that aren't beholden to corporations, that will be able to represent ordinary working people. I'm such a person, not because my parents were immigrants or any such thing like that. My father was a locksmith with a 6th grade education. And my mother was a single mother, 15 years old, pregnant with me. Her high school guidance counselor told her she should have an abortion because she was pregnant by a black man in 1973. I never lived at the same street address for a calendar year until I turned 9 years old. I struggled against incredible poverty, so when I talk about addressing the homelessness crisis in the state of California, it's because I lived unhoused. It's because my father was on and off the streets, and I want a solution that includes single-payer health care that is comprehensive of mental health care, addiction treatment, so that we can get to the root of some of the problems that people are facing. But I also want rent control. I also want Blackstone and BlackRock to be taxed so heavy on all the vacant properties that they hold that run the price of your rental housing and your home ownership prices up. We need to tax them so that we can get social housing that's affordable for people, and by taking out the root causes of the homelessness crisis in the state of California, then we can actually solve the problem. But Team Blue hasn't been able to do it because they've taken $25 billion of your dollars over the last 5 years and put it into homelessness alleviation programs. And the number of people sleeping on the streets has gone from 120,000 a night to 187,000 a night in 5 years, because it has gone into the poverty industrial complex, NGOs, and developers. Everybody else is going to tell you build, build, build. No, we have 14 open units for every homeless person in the city of San Francisco. We need better resource distribution. And I'm here for that. With the last few minutes of my time, I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about myself. I told you about growing up in abject poverty, but I haven't told you why I've taken on this mission. And it's because when I was 15 years old, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I read that book cover to cover in one night, and it changed my life. I wanted what Malcolm had. I went out and read an English translation of the Quran the next day. I converted to Islam by the end of the week, and that was my introduction into my personal faith tradition and to the Black resistance tradition, the liberation tradition. And it is from that tradition that I will speak to you with the last words that I have. Malcolm said, "We are not outnumbered, we are out-organized. Working people need a party that will organize for them." And Malcolm also said, "Never let your enemy tell you how many of you there are." After I'm done with this talk, Team Blue and Team Red are going to tell you that a Green Party can't win. But I never let my enemy tell me how many of us there are. I never let the man that I'm against form my opinions for me. Malcolm also told us that the liberal is a fox. It bares its teeth, you think it's smiling at you, but you are on the menu. And that is Team Blue. They hunt by guile, by cunning. The conservative is a wolf. When it bares its teeth, it's into a vicious snarl that leaves the black man with no illusion as to where he stands. We are caught between two predators, a liberal party and a conservative party, and we need a party that serves the people. The last thing that I'm going to say, again from that Black liberation tradition and from Malcolm, is that we have had majorities of Democrats in this state for the last 50 years. Malcolm said, "You put the Democrats first and they put you last, and that makes you a political chump." Well, ain't y'all tired of being chumped? And don't you want to change California so you can change this country, so you can change the world?